It's my deepest pleasure to announce not only is Mind's Eye Inkarnate now a proud affiliate of a horror film currently in production, but of an introspection on the genre. Since its inception, like a misunderstood creation chased by torches and pitchforks, horror has been used as a scapegoat for society's woes. Well, fact is stranger than fiction because, the fact remains, fear fiction's commentary on culture has offered a cathartic outlet for man to face his fears and fight his demons. So I'm happy to announce that the documentary Mental Health and Horror has arrived to not only dispel the misconception of horror, but also highlight its understated value in our lives. A necessary evil, if you will. Check the link in the description to support this Essential Films Indiegogo. I am the terror that larps in the night. I am the runtime that don't know when to quit. I am the face of justice, both vigilante and social. I am the Crow. Wait. Hellspawn. Hold on. The Punisher. Webby Downer? Way back in the 90s, we had 3 different Batmen in films during a 5-year span. With this latest release of a soft reboot for the Gotham Knight, we've now had 3 different Caped Crusaders every decade since the millennium, all of which have played the role in the last decade. So, progress? I gotta admit, as big as a Batman fan that I am, each time they've given the world's greatest detective a fresh coat of paint and a new face to don the cowl, it means a little less. I can't even necessarily blame saturation, although this DC hero has been more overexposed than Miley Cyrus's muff. Lest we forget, there was yet another trilogy, literally at play while Christopher Nolan was lighting the world on fire in theaters. The Arkham games were elevating the crime fighter to new heights. Those pair of trilogies rocked our socks, while the last 2 depictions of Batman haven't. To me, those side-by-side comparisons showcase more than anything how a director and actor did right by a hero versus how a character wasn't done justice. Before we delve deep into the shadows for my thoughts on the movie, what say we shine a light on this video's sponsors? Think of the power to tune out the whole world placed in your hands. Now think again, because Jabra Headsets puts that power in your ears. Listen closely. From workout earbuds to Bluetooth music headsets and office hearing devices. So, if other brands play your music sounding like a broken record, march to the beat of a different tune with Jabra. If you're an HD snob like me, you probably buy Samsung for all your major electronics. Catch up on your favorite horror classics on one of their Ultra HD TVs. Watch one of Screen Factory's Blu-rays on their 4K players. Keep up with updates from 80s horror documentary In Search of Darkness on a high-end tablet. Subscribe to your favorite YouTuber through one of their Galaxy phones. I have so many Samsung devices I've always thought they should be paying me. Well, now they can, and you can help. If you use the link in the description for either Samsung or Jabra purchases, it'll help the channel out tremendously. With the promotional considerations accounted for, it's on with the show. Upon first viewing, what stuck out to me about the trailer was, at long damn last, they were portraying the Riddler with some dignity. I'm going to attribute his clown shoes portrayals over the years squarely at the feet of Jim Carrey. You know what? Better yet, director Joel Schumacher. Yeah, screw that guy. I never understood that. Batman's a detective, so a villain, mastermind, whose narcissism compels him to outwit the cops at every turn while deliberately leaving clues behind should be one of his greatest rivals. So why is he routinely relegated to depictions as the Joker's goofy cousin? In the trailers, though, not only did the word making the rounds prove right that he takes on a more serial killer approach like the Zodiac Killer, but his identity in the previews remained anonymous. Smart. Additionally, along with the killer remaining secret, I thought it was a nice touch to completely conceal the faces of his victims behind masking tape. I thought to myself, wow, they're going for style. Me likes. Along with killing the crap out of his doubtless political targets, this method of homicide worked twofold. Firstly, masking their appearance was symbolic of whatever secrets they possessed, which placed them in the crosshairs of the villain. Second of all, it tied back to his own mysterious appeal remaining unidentified. Even though I'm well aware of the agenda behind the casting of Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, in all honesty, I have always wanted to see a black woman carry the mantle of Eartha Kitt's portrayal. I hadn't seen Colin Farrell in anything in years, and was optimistic that he had matured as an actor, and considering he was unrecognizable in the makeup, I wanted to see what he would bring to the Underworld Kingpin. With all these pieces on the chessboard, my expectation reached the level that we were in for a decent comic book movie with a crappy superhero portrayal. This nicely dovetails to the Batman of the hour. I've grown to develop a revulsion for the defense mechanisms in the face of bad casting. It's this mentality where ridicule over the choice of actor to play a role is somehow off limits. While Batfleck wasn't the first instance of fan backlash over who was starring in these films, he is the primary example where the initial impression was spot on. While apologists will harp on how the core audience was reluctant towards Michael Keaton and Heath Ledger, I would hasten to remind those same defenders running damage control for these studios pro bono like they're the PR department that there are plenty of cases of miscasting that conveniently get swept under the rug. Yeah, it was real easy for Emilia Clarke to hold court over Game of Thrones with the showrunners falling all over her. But riddle me this, how did she fare when she stepped into the boots of an actual badass? Oh, that's right, she proved an awful Sarah Connor that is best left forgotten. Speaking of BVS, hey, did Jesse Eisenberg's interesting casting as Lex Luthor based on the popularity of the Social Network film amount to anything but an embarrassing portrayal with no redeeming qualities? Would a talented actor like Michael Fassbender automatically make a good Batman? Then shut up about it! We can put the good Batman because me like actor in other movie to bed. On that note, let's address the emaciated elephant in the room. Before I give my thoughts on the leading boy, no, I won't be making any mention of the franchise he's most well known for of the melodramatic vampire variety. I didn't like the casting because I don't like Robert Pattinson as an actor. Full stop. Again, all the preemptive measures the media and fanboys took before, and certainly after the movie, to reassure themselves that his size didn't matter, did nothing to change my mind. Yeah, talk to me about his talent and dedication for the role when he's posting douchey frat boy pictures over his lacking interest to work out for this position just to flip off the fans. What a method actor. This level of copium also cropped up in the previous portrayal of the hero, I'm sorry to say. So, Pattinson couldn't be bothered to fit the mold to get in character. What about the costume? When Ben Affleck played the role, people were crowing about how his was the most comic book accurate costume ever, conveniently forgetting that not everything from the pages of comic books will translate well to screen. Exhibit A, those ludicrously stubby looking bat ears on the cowl. Fast forward 6 years later, and not only does Robert Pattinson's costume depict his bulbous head when facing the camera,
What?
his profile shot isn't doing him any favors either. Seriously, this guy's head is so awkwardly shaped that when he's wearing the mask, it looks like you can land a jumbo jet on his comically flat top. Now, entertainment media will work overtime to omit this rather overt observation, and frankly, if you're content to pretend you don't see it,
Please! You're as blind as a bat!
All the actors who've portrayed Batman have worn mascara so that their eye sockets blend in with the mask. As if this thespian wasn't already getting criticized for playing an emo version of Batman, they show him removing the mask, wearing guy liner, and proceeding to do detective work until his butler walks in on him while he's still wearing it. Well, I suppose there's worse things your old man can walk in on you doing.
Ooh, Mama. Oh, Mama. Sorry, Mr. Ventura. That's okay. I was just practicing my mantra.
No, but seriously, Darby Allin over here clearly didn't get the memo that audiences should never watch a Batman movie and get left looking at their hero looking like a damn raccoon.
Surprise! What the hell's the matter with you?
Did the director think he was breaking new ground with keeping the makeup on? As much as professional whiners endlessly bitched how the Nolan's Dark Knight would loom over cityscapes, lamenting and languishing, meditating and mourning, that at least could be taken seriously. When either Christian Bale or Ben Affleck stood visibly reflecting on their past loss and present strife, you felt the gravity of their grief and the weight of their struggle. These were men of gravitas and pathos. For those that think that the right look doesn't matter for a character in a costume, please believe Robert Pattinson is bereft of any of those aforementioned qualities. This Batman doesn't brood, he mopes. So yeah, it makes a noticeable difference when you hire a man to play a tragic role versus some bloke who attempts at despair come off like a sulking teenager.
Emotional damage!
Homeboy's got that Elijah Wood syndrome where no matter how old he gets, he still looks adolescent in the most boyish way possible. I mean, when him and Commissioner Gordon are solving Riddler puzzles, it looks like a grizzled detective opposite an overgrown juvenile doing cosplay because it damn sure don't look like two grown men sharing the screen. If you think that all this is bad, by the time they show Bruce Wayne in public, dude looks like Harry Potter. So, he doesn't have the look in or out of wardrobe, and his acting reeks of high school kid with a case of the big sads. Jesus, is the voice acting at least serviceable? He just talks. No attempt to cover up his voice or conceal any hint of his identity. Nah, why bother, right? Whether Bruce or the Bat, just the same detached, aloof mode of speech. Hey, the bad guy in this flick is a criminal mastermind, correct? Picks up on clues, connects dots, no one else does? Okay, just checking.
Oh, you're really not as smart as I thought you were.
Say what you will about the Christian Bale rasp. What does talking in a normal voice do for Pattinson? This problem feeds into his line delivery when he's investigating crime scenes. He just figures the riddles out, just like that. No contemplative thought process, no bat computer connected to his wrist to piece together a puzzle, no acting. Considering that over a half his face is covered, a real actor would use what is visible and audible, namely their eyes and voice, to convey that they're working out scenarios in their head, attempting to stay one step ahead of a villain who's 2 steps ahead of the cops. So the director takes influence from Seven's villain for his bad guy, but fails to seek inspiration from his detective heroes in his detective movie.
Brilliant! Brilliant!
Notice how Morgan Freeman was in both Seven and the Dark Knight trilogy. Coincidence? Yeah, maybe. My point is that Pattinson might as well be reading off cue cards when attempting to CSI Riddler mysteries. Clearly, there was about as much thought process given to the actor's performance choices as there was in the character's own head. I heard that the Riddler's tactics reminded both audiences and reviewers of John Doe from Seven and Jigsaw from the Saw movies. And while I agree with the former, I disagree with the latter. The Riddler doesn't use death traps like Jigsaw. They are Jigsaw traps. They leaned too hard into their inspiration. Let me explain. The boat bombs that the Joker plants at the end of The Dark Knight is like a jigsaw trap, especially when he forced both crews to decide who lives, who dies.
Live or die. Make your choice.
This 2022 film rips off not just a head-worn contraption similar to the reverse bear trap, but also the exploding neck collar from Saw. What is ripped off from 7 is the clutter-filled apartment lined with journals that is even read aloud, and the serial killer giving himself up to the cops before one last surprise from our hero. It was refreshing that we could have a movie that skips the tragic origin and just jumps right into the crime fighting. I thought, yay, a Batman that doesn't start with a young Bruce Wayne getting instantly orphaned. But the film couldn't help itself and just has to involve his parents any damn way. Fun while it lasted. The Thomas Wayne twist, if you could even call it that, fell flat for two reasons. First off, the trailers themselves spoiled it.
You're part of this too. How am I part of it? You'll see. All these years, you lied to me, Alfred. The killer left this for the Batman.
Riddler's latest. It's all about the Waynes.
Well done. Number 2, it just wasn't any good. It really doesn't have much bearing on either plot or character, even though the movie tries to convince you that it does, and basically its severity is undone later anyway. The motivation behind the twist is pretty absurd as well. If a reporter is trying to disclose your family's personal medical history, how are they the hero and you the villain? Anyone notice how there are little to no bat gadgets? At one point, Robert Pattinson removes the bat symbol from his chest to use as a boomerang or something, which made for unintentional comedy. Yeah, way to unfasten your bra as a weapon. The one spy gear they ripped off the recording contact lens from Mission Impossible 4, so screw off with that. His armor itself has plot armor. I mean, for all the talk of how supposedly grounded this movie is, how many times does he get shot at point-blank range by either small arms or shotgun blasts? Kinda diffuses the tension that he can bite the bullet when he's a walking tank. That durable material capable of that much weapons fire is brought to you by John Wick. Catwoman was basically a cold fish until she showed a pulse towards the end, which is absolutely not helped at all by the fact that this Batman and this Catwoman have zero chemistry. None. Seriously, I've seen oil and water mix better. The scenes shared with these two are more like watching paint dry. That's not half as egregious as the cat fight. Her sparring with Batman was so unconvincing, given her stature and complete lack of musculature, that even the filmmaker realized how unbelievable it would be that she hold her own in a fight, as evidenced by the noticeable use of CGI. Gordon doesn't stand out at all, which is a shame in and of itself, not only for the screen time dedicated to him, but the acting caliber of Jeffrey Wright. Andy Serkis as Alfred is another waste. You know, I'm not saying that the Nolan trilogy is the definitive word on Batman because The Dark Knight Rises proves that it wasn't perfect, but look at the characters that I just named. Weren't Batman's commissioner partner in crime fighting and father figure butler memorable in any one of those movies? Because they're pretty forgettable here. Not like the film had 180 minutes to do something noteworthy with them. This makes the third straight time that Alfred is played by a seasoned veteran and utterly squandered. Penguin is grossly underutilized and barely makes an impression after his introduction other than a monotonous, non-suspenseful car chase. As great as the initial setup and mystique of Riddler was, he slips right into comical territory, ironically trying to rebound by ripping off Joker's yelling at a hostage during a recording from The Dark Knight. just to delve into Nicolas Cage's autistic brother from Face Off.
You exchange brains as well? What about our $10 million? Bye, bro. Drop me a line sometime.
Yes! Why do you talk that way? I had a stroke!
Which is all capped off by outlandish antics, once incarcerated the likes of Lex Luthor at the end of BVS. Yeah, it's brutal. With mention of his social media subscriber count, no, seriously, and general nihilism, you can tell they were going for depicting the cisgendered white male as an incel. The one positive I can say about this movie is, it does make Gotham grittier and more bleak to match the city's corruption. But so did another recent adaptation that wasn't boring. Ironic that this film has 3 of Batman's main adversaries absent his arch-nemesis, because this is a movie on how not to Joker. The multiple endings. Just what this endless saga needed. First it's the Villains Club, then the other Villains Lair, then it's Arkham Asylum, back to the Villains Lair, then there's a last-minute doomsday device. Is that a local militia? Hey, who's that bad guy in the window? Time for a cemetery send-off. You know, for a movie that's already 3 damn hours long, you can ill afford to have such pacing issues, especially in your final act and last impression you leave your audience with. Batman is a conglomerate of many things. Detective, ninja, scientist. You don't get any of that from Bat Pattinson. There's plenty of attempts at it in the movie, they're just not convincing. What is it with these gangly punk rockers playing Batman? We also have Jared Leto playing Morbius. What a pair of chads. I'm more interested in what Marvel does with former Batmen than what DC does with this one. They really need to give Batman a rest for about a decade. I realize that's never gonna happen because he's their cash cow. Sorry, Wonder Woman, but good luck with your video game, Amazon Asylum. I've seen good. I've seen greats. I've seen the bad, but I've never seen a banal Batman film until recently. And for anyone claiming that this is the best Batman since The Dark Knight, is that really an endorsement of this film, or an indictment of the lacking Batman movies we've got in the last 10 years? That's just the bland leading the blind.
See you next week. Same bat time, same bat station.
I ain't just a big deal.
I'm vengeance.
I'm the real deal.
Warn your friends. Warn everyone.